to Black and Curious. I'm Kandron.
What up? It's Dehjai in my glass of wine because it's 1 o'clock.
I just want to give a shout out to a real one, Ina Garten, Barefoot Contessa on the Rosé Sangria recipe. I'm not sure when this is going to go up, but for the 4th of July, that is what the recipe that she shared. And I may or may not have added just a hint more of Grand Marnier to my glass, this specific glass. In addition to the Grand Marnier and the Chambord that is already in the sangria.
With
So
the Chambord?
she didn't put Chambord, she put cognac. But I just felt like Chambord was hitting my spirit different because I was like, well, it's all these berries, then you might as well use a raspberry liqueur. So that's what I did.
Oh, I'm gonna need your recipe because I wrote
Well,
down the recipe that she had. Check our Instagram because we absolutely posted the
shared it.
video that she did.
Also, I may or may not have had a corner of that peach wine left over that I also added to my rosé and finessed. So, I took a few liberties. But I think Ina would approve because Ina be in there drunk as hell, all the
A
liquors
big ass picture, okay?
and all of the things. So I think it's Ina approved and I'm excited about it. It tastes delicious.
I'm gonna try that. You know what? I need to send you. So, you all don't know this, but everybody that knows me knows that I am just like deeply in love with Fitman Cook. So, girl, because he is fine and he cooks. Okay, so he made
He
this.
cooks. Fine's a reach for me, but he cooks. I do like his recipes.
Okay, listen, you ain't got to like my man.
And listen, we have very different tastes, so there's that.
But yes, so he made this like watermelon mint um and habanero like margarita. Like
Oh
he
yeah, I like a spicy something in my drinks, my cocktails.
girl. So when we disconnect from here, I will send you that live so you can see it. But that child, I said, yes, I'm gonna have to make this. But he put rum in it. But I'm like, I'm not a rum girl. I'm gonna get me some good tequila because that would be. He was like, tequila would be probably even better, but I have rum on hand. And
Yeah.
so, but he was just like, it's bomb. But he made a habanero honey, and so I will be making that.
I'm into that. I could totally be into a habanero honey. Yeah.
Go on a lot of things. Right now, I'm trying to give me
Yeah.
some lifted in your spirits honey from this company that I found on Instagram. So we're gonna see how that works out. I'll let you know.
I was thinking about that on like a chicken and waffle situation with a habanero honey and
I
like a
think that's what he used it for.
yeah, and a little,
Mm-hmm.
regular maple syrup, with that habanero honey in the mix. Delicious.
This sounds like this might be one of those like cooking videos at some point whenever we regroup and we're together. Because that's
Yes.
what we like to do. We some bougie. Well, I'm the bougie auntie.
Listen, everybody embraces auntie at a different level, and I am not there yet.
I think Kandron is delusional, y'all.
I'm not delusional. What are you talking about? I think my threshold for auntie is 40. I have one like little gray hair right here. I'm not gray. I'm still living, in an environment that's popping. I don't think I have any good advice to
You can
give
be an auntie
anybody.
in an environment that's popping.
I'm saying I don't have any decent advice to give anybody. I'm still giving people bad advice. Like, I'm not there yet. I am not in my auntie energy. I am reserving that space for 40. That is my threshold for auntie. Yours can be different, and that's that on it.
Child, I've been an auntie since I was in my early 20s, so it's
Exactly.
okay.
So don't be trying to put that energy over here when you just embrace auntie
This is
well
what I
before
do
your
right here.
time. You now calling your damn self grandma. And I'm definitely not embracing that
Oh,
energy.
well, see, here's the thing. Grandma comes from me and my other, I got a whole gaggle of Virgo friends, okay? And
Okay.
so me and my other Virgo boo, who I love her down to her socks, maybe we'll have her on at some point. She is a professional esthetician and she's gorgeous. I love Christina. But so we used to work at this makeup place. Did I ever say where I
Mm,
worked at? I feel like I did. Anyway,
probably.
we met at this place that I was working at doing the
Hmm.
makeups. And we were literally like 10 years older almost than most of the staff. So outside of, the shepherd for the devil. And so I mean, she was a shepherd for the devil. It's just what it is. Um but yeah, so we used to have the running joke like, no, me and grandma is not gonna make it. And so we used to call each other grandma. That's where it comes from. I don't legitimately think that I'm like old and grandma status. We're not there
Well,
yet.
listen.
It's just me. It's just a running joke from like yesteryear. So whenever I
Well,
talk to
listen.
Christina, that's how we talk to each other.
You've been saying it. So you embraced Auntie at 22, and I'm just not there
20.
yet. And I'm just
I
not
have
there
been
yet.
TT since I was 20 years old.
Okay, but I have not. So you can't force me, and that's fine.
Because Kendron is delusional.
I don't like that. Don't say that. I'm not delusional. I know how old I am. I'm just saying I'm not there yet. Like mentally, I'm not there yet.
Okay, friend. I love you. That's all right.
I'm not.
So, on this week's episode, we are going to be discussing surviving your 95 and what the hell that looks like in the
Yes.
year of our Lord 2021 after the panorama and beyond that or before that.
Before
Yeah,
that, really, because
before
I
that.
feel like I was in survival mode. My whole career has been survival mode. God bless. So there's that.
Ciao. Um, so one of the things that I had jotted down in my notes was like when you work for a big corporation and what that corporate culture looks like. And so I specifically wrote it down as like corporate culture Kool-Aid and whether or not you are drinking the corporate culture Kool-Aid. Say that shit 3 times fast. Like, girl, struggle.
My thing is, I feel like I have always known that there was going to be a point in my career where I was going to need to get off of the bandwagon for this reason, because I know me and I'm not going to do the corporate culture PC stuff for long. Like, and I don't do it now, which is why it probably took me far longer to get promoted than some of the other people in my same department, is because I'm just not going to play the game but so much. Like, I'm going to do my work, I'm going to work hard. I will even like volunteer, I'll do the work, but I'm not getting ready to do this whole like extra networking and extra like hobnobbing and trying to get in good or say something on the call. Like, that's not my jam. That's not my bag. Um, and so knowing that is a big reason why I feel like I've always had an entrepreneurial instinct and an entrepreneurial desire, because I know me and I'm only going to reach so far on the corporate ladder. And I hesitate to say that I feel like I'm as far as I'm going to get right now. I think so.
I feel like just because we are in the same boat in that regard. I am not one to, like jump through hoops and all those kinds. I'm just gonna show up and be who it is that I am, and either you
Mm-hmm.
like me or you don't. And there's not anything that I can really do about that. But like this is so for the better part of my working life, I have been in retail spaces. So it wasn't really like a whole corporate culture Kool-Aid for me to be sipping from, because I also worked in spaces that were creative, so it was just kind of like whatever, everybody's out here doing them and that's just how you do it. And so when I got into a corporate environment, the Kool-Aid was real strong. It was like they were passing it around tremendously in batches. Like it wasn't even just get a little glass. It was like, here's the whole batch. Take this home and make sure you digest it. And I initially was just kind of like, okay, this is different. But I just remember thinking to myself, like, this whole, even a friend of mine who formerly worked for the company was just kind of like, they constantly push this, we're a family. And it's like, no, the fuck, we not. I work with you. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's what this is. It's not going to be any more than that. And so this whole thing of like trying to be friends with the, when I say the Kool-Aid, I mean like this, trying to be friends with each other in the space and outside of the space. Like, I am down for that because I'm an open person, right? So I'm down to make friends with anybody who I mesh with, right? But what I don't do well with is like the disingenuousness that comes along with meeting people in this environment. I feel like people put on a face that isn't necessarily who they are, and then it's just like you end up burned in the end if you go into it being yourself and they are not.
Yeah, agreed. And that's
So,
the thing with me. It's like I I made a decision not probably I can't really pinpoint the time I made the decision, but I kind of made a decision to stop code switching. There's obviously certain things that I don't say. Um, I wouldn't say with one set of people versus what I would say, but I still just show up as my genuine self. I'm still going to crack jokes. I'm still going to do whatever. No matter who's on the phone, I'm still going to, be myself. Um, so yeah, I think it can be difficult when you show up with that energy and some other people are showing up, with that facade up. Um,
mm-hmm.
that corporate facade. And I mean, that's why I don't hang out with my coworkers. I'm gonna be honest. Like I until I get to that level with you, we can go do happy hour and I'm gonna keep it really surface level. I have two friends at work now, but that's just because we've, built to a friendship of hanging out on the weekends and hanging out, going to lunches together and talking about our lives. And frankly, there are other Black women where I already have a safe audience. I feel like I have a safe audience, but those are people that I vetted in a certain way of talking to them and engaging with them first before I could trust them in that way. But everybody else, like, yeah, I can go grab a drink with you, but I'm not going to bare my soul. But that's just me in general. Is like some people are come out the gate bearing their soul, and I'm just not one of those people. That's just not my style.
I think that like initially when I first joined the company that I'm in now, that we had a whole lot of like bonding exercises and all kind of stuff. And so like one of the people that I initially connected with, so I thought, I just was really honest. And I'm like, you know what, I'm just very black and white. I'm not the most trusting person straight out of the gate. But I am open to meeting new people. But I recognize that as much as I like, me and Kandron have this running joke about being like, we're parallel, but we're similar in the sense that like I'm the more friendly of the bunch of us, or the two of us. But at the same time, I still have a lot of the similar traits that she does, in that I'm not super open to new people. Like I'm open to, get to hang out, like you said, go to happy hour and stuff like that. And then, but when it comes to like my interpersonal space, you'll never know any of that shit. So
Yeah.
like I said that to this person, and I remember them just kind of, I guess they felt like it was an ice cold thing. And it was just like, it's not that. I just have been burned in work environments. And this is a different one than what I've
Yeah.
ever experienced. And so what I came to find out later was like my, almost maybe I would even dare say that it was like self-fulfilling prophecy in regard to connecting with, coworkers, was that like I'm not a super trusting person, and I was honest about that, and then that person gave me reasons to not be trustful of them.
Mm-hmm.
And even still, despite having felt like this is not it, I was still open to be like friendly, or like, try to get to know them in a different way. Maybe like this, my initial reactions were what it was, and not like things that happened later because of circumstances and things that was going on with that person. But like, no, it was always the same. The disingenuousness was always there. And so I was just kind of like, okay, this is not for me.
Yeah. And I think I'm sure we'll talk about this more at a later time. Dealing with friendships in general, you know, reason, season, and lifetime. So, you
Mm-hmm.
know, it could have just been that you needed that in that space, and then like once it wasn't functioning anymore, then you just moved on,
Yeah. But
and
it's
that's
always
fine.
like having, like you said, the ability to bare your soul to someone and working with other Black women. That was my experience. Like, she was also a Black woman, so I was like, okay, cool, like we could like get to know each other, whatever the case may be. But the idea of being able to bare your soul and be genuine friends with this person, that the way people show up the first time is how you need to accept them. And if it seems like it's a farce, then baby, it is a farce.
I don't know if I totally agree with that, but I see what you're saying.
I say that in the sense of like, your gut instincts typically are not wrong, right?
I mean, my gut instincts aren't wrong, but sometimes my gut instincts tell me one thing about a person that isn't apparent from the beginning, and that could go either way. So like one of my work friends, I met her and it was like instantly I felt connected with her. I also knew like very like wasn't she didn't seem like she was interested in getting to know me. We actually worked on the other side of the cubicle from no, she worked if my cubicle was here, she and there's like, you know, the space there, she worked on the other side. So like in my position on the next row.
Okay.
Um and so like we would speak or whatever, and I just had a feeling. And I think one day, like at a happy hour, I was like, we're gonna be friends. And she was just like, whatever, girl. Like very not really trying to hear it and not really interested. And I told her that later, and she was just like, I don't even remember that, but like that sounds like something I would say, and I was clearly wrong, you know? So, but that was my instinct picking up on something in her. And turns out, you know, she's also a Virgo. So I maybe it was my Virgo, my inner Virgo that was like, I know you. You're one of mine. And it was just
You're one of
like,
my people.
it was just like, okay, she'll warm up. And then she did.
Yeah. Um, it's funny. Virgos, I've never had any issue with. I'm always like, I love you. But that person that I'm talking about, no, I feel like their other placements ruled over that Virgo. Because
Yeah,
never,
it's possible.
I've worked with Christina, who I was just talking about, is a Virgo.
Yeah.
Like, I've worked with and become friends, like decent friends with most of the Virgo people that I interact with. So it's just like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know why y'all be getting such a bad rap. I love Virgos. Okay.
We're a good bunch. We're crazy, but I think we get a bad rap because we deserve it sometimes because we're a little bit
A little neurotic, but
we're a little nutty. We have a little we're an eccentric bunch. We're very specific people. Like we like what we like and we don't like what we don't like, and there is no negotiating. Like we just are who we are. And either you can get in there and you can figure it out, or and that's fine. That's the other thing about a Virgo. It's fine either way for us. Like
don't give a shit.
we
But
don't give a
then,
shit. Like
like the
well, Virgo women. I can't say that about Virgo men because Virgo men are be on some other shit, but that's neither
yeah,
here nor
they
there.
be, I don't know. It just was like a conundrum because I was like, there are so many. This person I've talked to you about before, and which is why I say that, like, or I'm saying that they were just like an enigma.
It happens. You know, you can't get along with everybody, even the people you think you're typically, you know, you do get along with. So
Like the little Leo in me is always like, I don't understand. But like,
yeah,
it's like everybody else is my friend. What's wrong with you?
I don't have that problem. I don't have that problem at all. I literally am like, I know I'm not for everybody. I am very
But not
specific.
that
I'm
way.
a very specific personality. I know I'm not for everybody, and I don't expect everybody to like me at all.
Yeah. But I'm not saying that in the sense of like people at work, because I don't really care so much. But like, if I make a genuine connection with you and the shit goes awry, I'm always like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh yeah, I don't know. I guess I just chalk that up to like everything isn't about me. I'm very big on that. And sometimes other people are going through shit or they are having experiences that don't have anything to do with me. And if they didn't say it was me, then hey, it
Oh,
wasn't
I
me.
know. It wasn't me. It's just you.
So, you know, I don't internalize. There's a lot of stuff that I don't internalize. I don't know if that's a character flaw or not. Maybe it is, but I don't internalize quite
That's
a bit of
good.
things about other people.
It's like that. So speaking to that trait specifically, I have another work friend that I made who was very much like, I'm unbothered by all of you.
Yeah.
And initially I was like, oh gosh, she is mean. But then once I really got to know her, it was like, oh no, bitch, you just need to get like that.
Yeah.
I like totally was like, and I still praise her to this day. Like, she taught me the ability to be so unbothered by other shit that I
Yeah.
was like, this is a trait that I want to carry through. Like,
Yeah.
cause baby, I love her down to her socks. But like, yes,
I don't know if I would say that I'm completely unbothered by a lot of things, but I just
she
think
is
I compartmentalize really well. I just compartmentalize really well. So I just like, okay, that's none of my business and I can do that.
So like, here's the thing. I can compartmentalize a lot of things and do, right? But like, it was the magnitude to which this work friend did it that I was just kind of like, I admire this shit about you. And I had to tell her,
Yeah.
like, I truly admire this shit about you, to be so unmoved, which is literally like the, one of the Instagram quotes was like, you know, get to a place where you are completely unmovable. So you're literally just like the um glacier in the ocean, not glacier, whatever those things would be floating on the top of the water in the Arctic. It is a glacier, but
Mm.
like the solid mountain piece of snow,
Yeah.
whatever. Y'all
Yeah.
know what I'm saying, okay? Um that's where she is. And it's just like things what might crash into her, but she don't like, it's just nothing. I think that is
Good
like the
for
most
her.
amazing gift to have.
Definitely.
She's very, very grounded. I love her to death. But
Yeah.
so let's get into imposter. Oh, wait, no. Before we get into imposter syndrome, I do have a petty question.
No boy, here we go.
Listen, I'm the colorful one. And when it comes to, I share all well, not all my tea, but a good bit of the tea that's like years and years old.
Hmm.
Um, so to the point of like people and becoming friends with folks at work. I was listening
Yeah.
to a podcast earlier today and they were talking about, they had asked each other. I was actually listening to the Friend Zone, and they
Hmm.
had asked each other if they had ever had like a little work sneaky link. And I was like, ooh, let's play. So,
I have. I don't. I'm not. I'm not ashamed to admit it. Especially, I was in a new city, and I was in a situation where it was sort of like temp work almost, and so there was lots of different people coming in. And I'm not gonna. I didn't. It wasn't just once. It was a few times, but yeah, I wasn't anybody like directly on my team, but other people that were my orbit from work. Hell yeah, why not? I was in a new city and like dating and very on the younger side of life. No, I wasn't very young, but I was on the younger side of life. And so, yeah, why not? But I think you have to do it in a way that makes sense. Like you can't be messing around with the people directly on your team. That gets messy.
agreed.
But coworkers, yeah, I think coworkers are fair game. You spend more time at work than you do in anywhere else in your life. So to think that you single people, especially single young people, are never going to date their coworkers is ridiculous.
And agreed, but it's still like you don't want to shit where you eat, right? So
Yeah, that's why I said you have to be careful. You don't want to be, it doesn't, shouldn't be somebody on your direct team. It shouldn't be like a direct report that gets messy. It shouldn't be your boss. That's messy. But like, people in your orbit that you may see, you know, around or whatever. Why
mhm.
not? Fair game.
um I like to think that, so I have done it, but I've done it in ways that I don't really feel like it was like ever no real sneaky link. I think the last time that I had any type of endeavor was years ago. And he was much older than I was. So I used to just be getting money. But I wasn't doing anything.
Right.
He just wanted to seem very like larger than life.
Right.
So like if I needed something, he would take care of it.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. And then now that I think about it, I had a lot of them when I was working at that resort. They was all older
Yeah.
than me.
I mean, like I said, I think there's a way to do it, but like I said, you spend a lot of time at work and you meet a lot of people at work. You meet a lot of friends at work, or at least a lot of friendships that I have started at work. And
Yeah.
so if it reasons that I would meet my friends at work, then I would also meet people I want to date at work.
But I
as
mean,
long as
I'm
long as it's
thinking about like
not.
we ain't dating motherfuckers. We just out here.
What do you mean?
So
Wait, say
like
that again.
so sneaky link in the sense of this is not necessarily somebody that you are dating. It's someone that you see and you're like, and then
I mean, I've done both.
right. I've never dated anybody from work.
Oh no, I've definitely dated people that I work
I
with.
have just, was out here in these streets and not like um doing the most. It was just kind of like, oh, we can hang out. I like my other friend will say, like, you good for like just taking people for, whatever they want to offer you. And you just be like, okay. And don't ever do anything in return. I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's not my fault.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with either way. And I'm not saying I like carried on super long-term relationships with these people. I didn't, but
Right.
I did I did at
Partake.
least two that I can think of. I dated them, not just like hanging out or whatever. Like I actually like dated two people, two different people. And then there were other people that I just hung out with.
I've never like dated anybody. It was really just like, I'm gonna just hang out with you, whatever, because it was always in my mind, even really young, like in my early 20s, um, that you just don't shit where you eat. And so me having that understanding, I just didn't want. And then the other thing too was like everybody be talking. If you talk too much, baby, you out of here.
Oh
Never.
yeah. Trust me, I'm not like I'm real discreet about things that I do. Maybe not as discreet when I was younger, but if I was doing something, like I would try to keep it cute. Like I wasn't,
Right.
you know, meeting someone in the hall is like, okay, meet me downstairs or like whatever. But
I
yeah,
do.
I just hmm?
No. I was like, let me think about that. Like, have I? Because I mean, I've worked in places where you could literally like have that sneaky situation. But no, I
But
was
I also think it's a difference too. Like you have to know yourself. And if you're a person who's gonna get all caught up in emotion about stuff and like not be able to separate the two and go and work acting a fool because something happened with you and the guy you're dating or whatever, like then maybe you shouldn't date at work. Like if it's a situation where you're not gonna be able to put distance or be able to like separate the two, then maybe you shouldn't. I am excellent at compartmentalizing. I will say that over and over and over again. I don't have any problems with putting people in their place in my life. They may not know that I've put them in their place, but they are there and they will stay there. And I don't have a problem with it.
um I have never been the one to trip out on people in the work environment that I may have had like a connection with, but I have absolutely had the opposite way around. One that I can think of specifically, and then after he flipped out, I never spoke to him again because I was like,
Yeah.
"You're a psycho."
And you're messing up my life. Like I come to work and I have peace, but for you. And so that's a problem for me.
Right, like nobody needs to know nothing about nothing. Okay,
Correct.
get out of here.
And if there was a situation where I felt like somebody was doing too much, I would be like, that was my cue to like kind of back off or, reframe a bit. Like
Mhm. Hell yeah,
of
bye.
yeah, of like, okay, that's you did too much because I don't need all these people knowing what is going on.
Right. I think that so to be Deja on the show and share a tidbit of history. Um, the craziest thing that's ever happened to me was like I used to work in this photography studio, and so I had transitioned into this location and was no longer in management. And so I was training the new managers, which was dumb. I should never have done that, right? Because I wasn't getting paid to be a manager to train them. But so whatever, I was training the new management, and he was cute and we liked each other. We were like 21, I think 21, 22 or whatever. And like one night we're working together, we're closing up. And so like in the dark room, it's literally dark. Once you shut all the machinery off. And so like he straight tried to hem me up in the thing. And I was just like, oh, we don't think he at work.
Sir.
Too much. Real aggressive. Real aggressive. Actually, he came to the apartment that we shared, but I don't know if you were home. I don't think you met him.
I honestly don't remember a lot from that time. I was focused on getting the hell out of Virginia. Please edit that. I was focused on finishing school and getting the hell out of Virginia.
You gotta get out. Yes.
That was my focus.
Okay, so let's move into the imposter syndrome and what that looks and feels like, both in your chosen work. Can I get these words together? In your chosen work environment and as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, imposter syndrome, I'm gonna kind of yikes. I'm gonna almost fuse the two together, if you will. So for my work environment, my 9-to-5 environment is at a large corporation, which means obviously there's a bunch of BS, but I work in compliance. My side work is more of business stuff and law, and more so like business law, contracts, transactional law, that kind of stuff. So I'm going to fuse these to say something I worked through in therapy is when I first started therapy, I would say that I was a fake lawyer because
really
I didn't practice. I passed the bar. I'm barred in Florida. I've been barred in Florida for over 10 years at this point, but I didn't practice in a traditional way. My experience before was doing like e-discovery work and more specialized like investigations. So I never really practiced. So I would call myself a fake lawyer. And my therapist really was like, why do you keep saying that? Like you pay the Florida bar to tell you every year that you are a licensed attorney. Like, so if you need to have more information, you know how to research, you know how to find the information, you know how to, do whatever to find the information. And so that was like part of the imposter syndrome of me like feeling like I wasn't worthy to start this side business or worthy to be able to say like I am an attorney, like, or small things that I did when I was younger that I didn't know any better. Is like I was holding that against myself very much. And so in the last, like I would say 2, 3, 4 years, I mean, I always like dabbled. I would always do contracts here and there for different people. Yeah, for you, but for other people, like I would network, meet people, write a one-off over here, write a one-off over there. And it was like a lightning bolt in the last 3 years of like, no, you're actually an attorney. Like it's not just whether you practice that makes you an attorney. It's the skill set that you have that makes you an attorney. It's the way you read documents that make you an attorney. It's the fact that you know where to go and find a document. It's the fact that and like, also talking to one of my good friends that I work with, she's also an attorney and she did practice. And she was like, girl, everything is templates. We templates, like we do as and we just tweak a template. So like realize that in the actual law practice, that's what they do too. And like I know how to write critically and I know how to draft things. I'm a good drafter, I'm a good writer. So to like sort of reprogram myself and remove that imposter syndrome of like, okay, this isn't what you've been doing for your day job all these years, but you are capable. And being confident to be like, okay, maybe I've not written that specific type of contract, but I know how to write a contract and I know what needs to be in there and I know enough to like see what's missing and be able to fill it in and
Yeah.
figure out what I should say or go find out more information, do more research. Like I know how to do that. That's what makes me an attorney, not whether or not I went to court or whether or not I worked in a big firm. That is the skill set that makes me an attorney.
Yeah, I would agree. I wouldn't like, as your friend, it kind of bothers me to know that you didn't think of yourself in that way, like, because shit, I've been asking you like legal stuff forever and have been always like advising. Like, I have a friend who is an attorney. And so, like, if you need some sort of like service, depending on what it is, she can help you. And so, like, I feel kind of sad that you didn't think about yourself like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was a process. It was a process, and
I get you.
especially because of the time I graduated. I
Yeah.
graduated in a recession, so there was it also was the not being able to get a job that paid me. So
Mhm.
that made me feel somehow like I wasn't enough or like that I wasn't like I just wasn't enough to be able to get a job that would like keep me afloat. Little did I know I was moving to a state where they will offer you 30K your first year out of law school. And I was just like, I'm not taking that. So like I made a financial decision for myself because I had to take care of myself. It wasn't whether or not I was capable, it was whether or not I was willing to do some of the stuff that they were asking, and I just wasn't. And so that doesn't discredit my ability. That's just a value judgment about that I had to make
Mhm.
based on having to take care of myself and not living at home.
Mhm.
It's like you live in an expensive city. You can't afford to work for $30,000 a year. Like even if you want to, you're gonna be working 3 jobs if you try and work for that. And that wasn't,
That ain't
you know,
nothing. That's
that is yeah,
peanuts, as Faye would say. We got her.
yeah. So yeah, that was I think my experience with imposter syndrome, and I feel a lot more comfortable now. Like one of my friends messaged me. She has clients. Hopefully one day we'll get her on to talk about business stuff. But she was like, "Oh, my client asked me for da 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 da. Like, is this something you do?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's something I can figure." Like even if I can't do it, I didn't tell her this. In my mind, I had to have this conversation of like, even if I haven't done it yet, I can do it.
Yeah.
And so I wrote back to her very confidently, like, yeah, this is something that I can handle based on what you information you've provided me.
Mhm.
And like that's different because before I may have said like, I don't know, I think that's out of my reach, or I think that's out of my realm, or whatever.
I think I totally understand like this idea that like this is not something that I can do, or I'm not there yet, or I'm a fake lawyer, or whatever the case
Mm,
may be. Because like for a long time, I have kind of toiled around the idea of being a life coach and what that would look like. And so instead of me going into life coaching certifications much earlier, I chose to go into graduate programs. And while doing that, I have a way more extensive education in mental health than most life coaches do.
mm-hmm.
I'm just not licensed to be like a clinical. Well, my degree would have given me if I'd gone to be licensed. An LCSW, which is a licensed clinical social worker,
Mm-hmm.
which is just basically clinical therapy. If you choose to go into that, like LCSWs do a lot of different type of work, but
That's what my therapist is.
I always wanted to be like a therapist. Yeah. And so it just made more sense to me to focus more so on what it is that I wanted to do. And like there's a lot of research and stuff involved. And I could go back and finish my last, I have like, so for me, because I chose to pivot and be a life coach in the middle of my graduate program, I had literally gotten to the end, which is so crazy. I know people are like, so you didn't finish? And I'm like, no, because I didn't. I was working a full time job. I was also in graduate school and doing an internship and, like seeing clients during that internship. And like when I got to that stage, because that's literally like we have 2 years of that before we graduate. Um, I was burnt and I was like, I cannot do this. I have to, like you, I have to make a living and I have to work full time. And luckily my job is not super taxing, but like it was just, there was no way that I could continue to burn the candle at two ends in the way
Right.
that I was, knowing that I didn't necessarily want to go into this type of work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and maybe, I'll go back, right? Because I have so little. I have like a year's left to finish my last like clinical year in the field, basically. But I never wanted to do that, and it took me so long to get to a point where I felt comfortable to be like, yeah, I'm a life coach. This is what I do. Even though I wasn't seeing clients at the time, I would, be a part of different organizations where I still coach people.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't a paid service, but they were just kind of like, what is your profession? Like what everybody would question after getting the service for free. Like, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
Because my work environment is a little different. And so they would wonder like what my educational background was and all that kind of stuff because of the way in which, we would have conversations about things that they were working on and trying to work through.
Mm-hmm.
And so like you, I never really acknowledged the fact that I was a life coach. I just
Right.
didn't go the traditional life coaching path. Um, and it was working with a local entrepreneur and helping to build the organization that she has in the space that I worked in for me to kind of see like, no, you are this life coach. This is what you do. And you're actually really fucking good at it. And so
Mm-hmm.
like, stop with the lollygagging and just put everything together the way that it needs to be put together. And so I didn't
Right.
do that until ironically we were in a panorama, so like, but years prior to that, I had already been offering servicing just for free.
Right.
And then of course I did it through my graduate program, which it was more clinical, but like we're not licensed, so you can't say that I'm offering clinical services or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Even though I was, like, it had to be more watered down because I still had to
Right.
have like a practicing social worker or LCSW above me. But yeah,
Yeah.
imposter
And
syndrome,
like,
it'll have you thinking that you
and
can't
for
do the shit that you already do.
definitely. And for me, that's came to also because like I was realizing I think it really clicked for me, even though I had already started to like overcome this sort of thing. It really clicked for me when I was working with you. Cause I was just like fitting out all this information and I was just like, it was common knowledge. Like I literally just was like, wait, everybody doesn't know. Wait, everybody doesn't know this.
No,
Okay.
like
This is
literally,
something that
did all of my like legal stuff. Like she did my basically like legal review, which to your credit, we've not had this conversation, but you pushed me to use my motherfucking education because all
yeah.
that stuff, I learned it. I just didn't. I was like, Kendra, I don't know how to do this. And you were like, if you write it, I will edit it. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay.
And honestly, I realized like that's sort of where I shine. I'm not a person that I have to like do everything from scratch or I have to feel like I have ownership over all of people's stuff. I just want them to be able to be able to have the businesses that they want to have. And so I'm very much a if you write it, I will edit it and make it sound right and make it look good and make sure that nothing is conflicting top to bottom, like make sure everything is together. So I realized that's sort of my sweet spot. I'm not sure how to really I'm not sure how to really market that, but like that is what I enjoy doing. I don't enjoy necessarily drafting from scratch, but I do like the process of like editing and like I realize that a lot of people nowadays are really feeling confident to go online and find a contract and kind of make it their own, but like sometimes
Write that shit from scratch, y'all.
yeah, but and I mean, and that's fine. I think
Take it,
it's
take it.
good.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing that people are feeling confident in stuff. They just need to run it by an attorney right quick.
Yeah.
Somebody like me who's like, okay, well, this you wrote this up here, this down here, and those two things don't match. And though that's not something that people would necessarily think of if you're not trained, you know,
Yeah.
that these two clauses are conflicting. So
Right.
like that's where I really shine is like that sort of critical.
Totally agree. Cause like I I have a, like history in clinical documentation, but not contract writing. And so once I did it and kind of went through it and like saw the edits or like the conversation pieces, like things that needed more detail from Kendra and y'all, I was like, yo, I could offer this service to someone else because I know how to do it now. I just can't do like the legal part of it. Like I'll write the whole thing out for you and then have like my partner here, hey, do the legal review. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And like, cause buddy, I was just like, man, I really wrote this. Yes, go me.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like for me, that's the thing that I do like about when I edit as opposed to drafting, is because you know what's required by your profession.
Yeah.
And that takes one less hurdle for me having to figure out what's required of your profession.
Mm-hmm.
So like if you give it to me, and it's cheaper. Honestly, like it's a service that's cheaper for people than me drafting, because I draft at a different rate than I review at.
Baby.
Okay? It's real different. I'm just gonna be honest. It's very, very different. So, you know, I like being a person who's sort of like a middle ground to be able to offer advice, but not, you know, have to devote a ton of time for it, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree. So that leads us into like business experience. And I would even dare say like we can couple that with the entrepreneurial journey.
I agree.
For me, I am new in business. So like I'm just figuring things out. As evident by me stating that I wrote the contract and then I had my homegirl over here go through and give me like the legal review and ask the questions that needed to be asked. Um, so my business experience up until this point is that I hate marketing, especially when you are
Same,
marketing yourself.
same.
I don't know, I just feel like I'm not good at it. Like I was doing it for a minute and was mildly successful, but I didn't there's a certain comfortability when you work for another corporation and you know that that check is coming every 2 weeks.
Of course.
um in regards to
And just to be
like,
clear, I'm not giving up my check until I have make sure I have something secure on the side. God bless.
sis, so we don't have an understanding, like I need to be pulling in the coins like the YouTube girls, which we will, in order for me to just be like, I'm out.
Yeah.
I will probably venture into something else in the lane of work that I do, which I'm trying to get into now. But to just up and quit, I just don't see it. And that kind of brings me to like y'all know I'm always on the spiritual tip. So like I have been presented with this idea on a number of occasions that it's time for me to transition on, and so I'm like, okay, transition on and into another role of work, a line of work, yes, but transition on and work for myself, no. I'm not at a place where I feel like I am capable of eating what I kill, in the sense of like the business terminology, like you kill what you eat or whatever the case.
Mhm.
um because I'm not good at like the side of it where you have to like advertise yourself and create like these things. I was making all types of stuff. Um,
Right.
but if there's no one to like attract, like I've not really gotten good at pulling in my audience, and I know that that takes time, right?
Yeah, I
So
was gonna say it's trial and error, and it's also um not that I would say that I've gotten good at pulling in my audience necessarily on social,
mhm,
but yeah, I think it's trial and error. A lot of it's trial and error, and you just have to keep at it. It's just persistent, really. I know that's a very cliche sort of thing to say, but it's true. Like a lot of stuff is literally just persistence and boldness. I'm gonna be honest, like just being bold and making an ask and pitching yourself is the other part of the picture, which I struggle with. I struggle with it now. I didn't used to struggle with it. So just to go into a little bit of my work experience, not work experience, but my business experience, I'm a serial entrepreneur, sort of, in a way. I can't say any of my ventures so far have been wildly successful. I make money at them. Trust me, I do. Otherwise, I wouldn't keep doing them.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I've been an entrepreneur since I was like a kid. I learned to sew, and I charge people for anything I learned how to do. I'm gonna charge you for it. So I learned how to sew. Like I actually took sewing classes. Then I would charge to make curtains and blankets, comforters for my family members. And then I worked with my sewing teacher. She taught me how to do tailoring. When I went to law school, I tailored my classmates their suits and stuff, because obviously you're broke. Like, you're a law student, so you may not have money to buy a nice suit, but I can tailor it and make it look nice for you. So I did that, and I did a lot of that. And then there was like this one man, this random guy. This is what I'm saying. Like, I will make money however I choose. There's this one man who I went to law school in Macon, Georgia, which is about an hour south of Atlanta. So his family lived in Atlanta, his wife and kids and stuff. And he just wanted someone to like press his shirts. So I like pressed his shirts. So, like, better than the cleaners would do. I pressed his shirts for him. That's what he needed. I did it, and I got paid to do it. So it was like, it's stuff like that. And then so when I was, well, before I went to law school, my friends and I, and this is pre-social media. I'm old. Pre-social media.
She is old, y'all. I told you Kandron is the least.
Oh no, I don't have a problem with saying I'm old. I don't have a problem with saying I'm up there. I'm just, like I said, I'm not there yet. Listen, there are other people in the world that don't like being called auntie too, and they call themselves cousin XYZ. So I'm cousin Can, if that's what you want to go with. So my friends and I, we decided to start a modeling agency. And we actually recruited a few people. We had a decent roster. We just couldn't make them work. So this is why I say, I mean, we couldn't, like, the people would just not show up or whatever. But I know I have a good eye for like recruiting people or whatever. And so I was very out there with like recruiting people. And I was very out there with like finding opportunities for us and just pitching us for stuff. And that didn't always turn out well because we didn't have models that were ready to work. But if we had, I might be in a different situation right now.
True.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just being ballsy about it. And then, going out, when I moved after law school, we tried to keep doing that for a while, but it didn't work. And then with social media, like, that industry, I won't say the whole industry is dead, but like that sort of niche thing we were trying to do wouldn't work. So now I've just been sort of doing, what I'm doing now, which is like legal stuff, business advisory. Oh, and then my other business, which I actually very much enjoy. I don't make a ton of money at it, but I do enjoy it. And I am going to give you guys videos about this business because I love it.
Because I'm waiting.
I resell. So at first I did it with one of my friends, and she and I did like baby and maternity clothes. And actually the margins are very high for that. You just have to do volume. And so we did it was all on eBay, and like the volume was there. And if you got a good thrift store, you can make a shit ton of money doing it. And so then I started doing women's clothes on my own, and then we stopped doing the baby and maternity. And so I've just been doing women's clothes all up until then. But I love thrifting. I love like the hunt. I love it. I love doing it's called retail arbitrage, which is basically like you go to the store, and when everything is marked down super, super clearance, and you buy it and you resell it. So like one of the things I bought recently, or the last sale season, which was in like January, I bought like a bunch of Lily Pulitzer stuff from TJ Maxx, right? And I bought this one outfit for like $30 or whatever. It's 2 pieces. It was a plus size. And I was like, okay, this is going to sell. It took a little while, but I bought it for 30 and I flipped it for 100. So it's like, and like, I've done that with all kinds of brands or whatever, as long as you know the brands and stuff. The only thing is it takes up a lot of space, which is a problem, but
I told her that she should do a Clawfist like
I'm
or
not doing that because
let me know.
no, because I'm in a small space. If I was in my old place, I would do it because it was a bigger space and better light. Here, it's like a whole other thing, and trying to shove like it's not pretty. Like it's never going to be pretty, I don't think, in this space. But that I love, but I just don't make enough money at it to like quit a job or anything. But I love it, so you know, and I don't have a problem. And like, there's lessons that I've learned doing that I think I should take as far as like, let's see, like sharing. You like on Poshmark, you have to continuously share your closet and like and it's like really it's just promoting yourself. You have to keep promoting yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a problem doing it in that space, but I can't do it on Instagram. So it's like,
Girl.
I need to take the lessons and cross learn them, you know?
Mm-hmm. I'm with you. I don't like, I have a whole Instagram for my business, and was doing well for quite some time. And now, after my stroke scare, I lost the zeal for like continuing to build that platform. And I feel like I don't know where to go. I don't know. Like, I guess I could just continue on with like I was doing, because like the other thing is consistency, right? And so like you need
Yeah.
to post several times a week at certain times of the day, depending on what your audience is looking like when they're looking at Instagram. And I had a whole system. And then I feel like what kind of stopped me was just like literally having to take care of my health. And then
Yeah.
now I just haven't revisited it. And
I
so like that whole imposter syndrome and like almost like my journey, I just kind of feel like I don't know what I'm doing in
yeah.
regards to marketing and like the social media aspect of it. With me um sitting in as the coach, like in the coach's seat with my clients, that's not a problem at all. Like that is where I
Yeah.
thrive. That's what I love. I love sitting down and listening to someone talk through whatever it is they have going on and helping them figure out where they're going next. I think one of the more simpler conversations I've had was with a client who wanted to kind of update their wardrobe and was, talking about wanting to appear more like the adult that they are and not be presumed to be like a teen or something like that. And so like we just kind of talked through it, like, and it was a simple conversation. It wasn't anything deep and complex, which I also adore to talk about. But like just helping them feel good about the choices that they make and who they are and how they want to show up. And then also the process to get to the look that they ultimately want. That was one of the more different conversations I think I've ever had, in all sincerity.
I will say, I mean, I feel like I've had that transformation over the last couple weeks, so I get it. I will say though, I think because we see so many people in the like influencer space, and the algorithm is really rigged to show us that more than anything,
Yeah.
that we may be overshooting the importance of social media. This is a working theory. I have many working theories that I never really talk about in public, but this is a working theory for me because I know plenty of people who make really good money or have really niche audiences,
Mm-hmm.
and they either don't have social or they don't have a ton of people on social, and they have these niche audiences and have a niche career where they are an expert, and that is fine. And I think that because of like the influencer space, we're all convinced that we all have to do social in order to get somewhere in life, and I just don't think that's true.
Right. I think, but I also, it's one of those things where people are also always looking for your Instagram handle.
Yeah, but it doesn't convert, which is why we're not doing everything exclusively on Instagram, because it doesn't convert.
Very true.
So I think part of entrepreneurship is being creative and finding different approaches to get your point across and get engaged with your audience. Like your audience might not be on social.
Yeah. And
that's fine too.
say that maybe that's what I'm coming to understand is that my audience has never really been on social, right?
Right.
The people that I've helped and worked with they have shown up because I had showed up.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
And so then there becomes a thing, even when I was doing the makeup, right? So like I have business experience in that, but that wasn't something that I really focused on in the way in which I have incorporated my current business.
Right.
Because I just felt like I wasn't gonna make no coin. People always want to haggle you to get this. And while this is very simple, like I don't have the patience to be haggled about whether or not you want to pay this price. Girl, it doesn't matter. You could go to somebody else.
That literally does not matter.
But I don't know. I think now, especially with like the platform that we are building, I feel like we will attract our tribe in the sense of like those who are meant to work with you will find you.
Right.
And trying to chase after my client didn't work.
Yeah.
So I think that this will work because in this sense, I'm doing literally what I said. I'm showing up.
Of course. And for me anyways, like literally all of the people I worked with has been because of referrals. And that's why I don't believe that everything has to be social media oriented. I mean, there are other things that I want to do that maybe will use social, but I have to remind myself that the things that the girls on social are doing are not, they are not things that I want to do. And B, that's not how I would like to make money. Like I don't want to make money as a 24-hour commercial. Not to say that's fine for those who do it and they make good money doing it, but I want to have more meaningful, or I don't want to say more meaningful. I want to have.
Well, I mean, you want to have a meaningful work experience.
Yeah. And I also want to have interesting conversations with interesting people. I don't want to be a commercial. Yeah. Fine if that's what you want to do, but that's not who I want to do. That's not what I want to do. So I think it's dangerous sometimes. And I think it's dangerous sometimes to overstate the impact of social media. Personally, that's what I think. But we can probably put a pin in this and maybe come back to this with like a social media expert or something in a different block.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Thank you for tuning in. Of course, as you know, follow us on all of the social medias at Black and Curious. With Instagram, it's going to be Black and Curious. On Twitter, it is Black in Curious. And I said Instagram. YouTube is the same.
Yeah. Yeah, follow us everywhere. I'm Kandron and KandronJones.com, and that's Dehjai. I'll tell you where to find her.
My business website, it is dayintuitive coaching.info. So DEINTUITIV coaching.info if you want to book a life coach. And we will talk to you next time.
Later.
Bye.